Well, hello, hello, hello.
Hello.
Hello, I'm sorry, am I bothering you or is this a good time?
No, I've just got copious amounts of research on my desk
Ooh,
for
that's
this
right.
podcast. For this, I mean, this is how long have we been doing this? This is our season 7, and this is the first time I've done this
Okay. I
much
know this is like
research.
breaking news. I feel like this is like Dateline or 2020 or 60 Minutes or something, and we have an exclusive report.
Well, it just
We
feels
need some
like
news jingle. We need one of those news
ooh,
jingles at the beginning of this episode.
we could do that. It just feels like this is
Yes.
such an unspoken issue, and I just can't quite believe it that I just kept
All
doing
right,
all
let's
this
shine a
research
light.
and going, this doesn't make any sense. But what do I know?
Well,
There you go.
welcome to tonight's Association Transformation. Breaking news. I'll turn to my colleague Andrew Chamberlain.
So
Reporting
I
from,
live from your living room. Do you remember? Was it? I got a minute. No, I'm just. Didn't Sesame Street used to have the news reporter on it? Do you remember
I
that?
think
It used to
so.
have the
Oh
news
yeah, yeah,
reporter.
absolutely. Wasn't
Yeah.
she
Do you remember?
purple or pink or something?
Oh, I
And
thought it.
she
I
would always
can't
be on the side,
remember.
and she's like, "Hello."
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's how I feel now. Yeah. Cool. Excellent. Sorry.
All right, Andrew
Sorry.
Chamberlain reporting.
So I want to talk today about an issue. Well, it's several issues, several issues that have materialized over the last sort of 3 months in the UK that have really shone a light on a bigger issue, this bigger issue around value and perceived value and
There
perceived
you go. Perceived value.
yeah,
Yep.
and recognition of value, particularly of staff, executive within our sector, within the membership, in the membership
Yep.
environment. Um, I don't know if listeners in the UK will be aware of the issue that, and we don't often name names on this podcast because we're everyone's friends, but I don't think this podcast is going to result in us getting a gig with these people anytime soon. But I want to talk about
Oh
the
wait,
British.
so take one more organization off our potential list of sponsors.
One
Okay.
more.
All right.
What's one more? Let's join the back of the queue. British Medical Association.
Oh wow, that sounds very official.
Yeah, the BMA, the British Medical Association, are in UK terms big. In fact, they're probably quite big in US terms as well. Actually,
Is
um,
that like the AMA? Is that like
yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
okay, so it's the Association of Doctors or it's the
yep.
Association of Hospitals? What?
Doctors.
Okay.
So physicians in the UK. If you, I mean, we have other royal colleges. Just to
Yeah.
give kind of set the scene here a wee bit, we have royal colleges who represent the professional interests of various constituents. So we'll have the Royal College of Surgeons, the Royal College of General Practitioners, Royal College
Okay.
of Nursing, Royal College of Midwives. We have
Okay.
various, and they are very much
And
focused on.
they all live underneath this BMA
No,
umbrella?
no, no, no,
Oh,
no. They live separately. They are separate entities. You do see some sort of crossover, but largely
okay.
they exist, to advance the professional interests of their members. Very much,
Okay.
the Royal Colleges very much have an emphasis on education development, long-term professional development. They're also the organisations who manage what I suppose we would call them the board exams, if you like. So if I'm wanting
Okay,
to
so they're the
qualify,
licensing.
yes, yeah,
They okay, so they're the
yes,
licensing
yes,
entity,
for
certifiers, if you will. Okay.
medical
Okay.
and
So a
clinical
major
professionals.
element.
So
Yeah,
they
I would
sit, they
imagine
sit.
tens of thousands of members.
Oh, easily
Yeah.
more than that. Then we have separately, but within the sphere, the British Medical Association, which is the trade union for
Oh,
physicians, for
okay.
doctors in the UK. Now, some of the Royal Colleges double up as trade unions as well, but in the
Interesting.
UK, the BMA is the trade union for doctors.
Okay.
And
Okay.
anybody who's anybody in the UK will know that the BMA has been a vociferous advocate for paying conditions for doctors in the UK, particularly in recent years. they have been advocating for significant increases, uplifts
Okay.
in doctors' salaries. Most recently, I just doing my work. This is background information, by the way.
Sure.
None of this is new,
Thank you.
but they are currently advocating. They are arguing that doctors should receive a 30% increase in basic pay
Wow.
to restore their earnings to pre 2008 value in real terms. So they're arguing,
2008?
yeah. So pre global economic crash, they argue that in real terms, doctors are now receiving pay. They need a 30% uplift to bring them
Okay.
back to
Okay.
that level. Fine,
Okay.
cool. I'm totally fine with that.
Hey, we nurses in New York State are also
Yeah,
on strike, so we know what this argument looks like, but you guys happen to have the BMA being the negotiating agent, the
yes,
collective
yes,
bargaining
yes,
agent for,
yes.
and
It
are
is
all
that.
doctors a part of the BMA?
Yes,
Okay.
largely, yes. Yeah, and
Okay,
one of the
got it.
biggest issues recently was the what we call junior doctors, were threatening to go out on strike, and have had
Oh,
over recent years. We have had doctors, junior doctors in particular, going out on 4 or 5 day strikes. It's had residual impacts down
wow.
throughout the system, throughout the healthcare system, to the point where a new Labour government came in July 2024 and immediately gave a significant uplift to junior doctors' pay in
So
recognition of this
they're
issue. They
negotiating with
said,
the government. It's the government who determines this pay.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah. The
got
government determines
it, got
doctors' pay.
it. Okay.
The BMA negotiates with the government. Several years of strikes with the previous Conservative government in the UK. New Labour government came in and said, "No, you're right. Let's cut this one. Let's nail this." And they gave doctors an increase, junior
Okay.
doctors an increase. The BMA is still advocating, saying it's not enough. All doctors should be getting, on average, a 30% increase to bring us up to this 2008 level.
Okay,
Right.
so they're
Okay.
they're advocating on behalf of their members. This is why you join the organization. This is why you belong. This is why you pay your dues.
Exactly.
They're out there
Well,
fighting for their members.
I'm down with that. I'm good on the BMA. I'm a big advocate of trade unions when trade unions are run well and their focus is not just on pay but is on conditions and quality of the working environment, etc., which the BMA does admirably for its members.
Okay.
Here, however, we reach the issue, the crux of this podcast. In November, it was
2025.
2025, 2 months ago, it was published, an article in the Guardian newspaper in the UK, published an article that said, and I've done loads of research, that the BMA as an employer
Okay.
was offering its staff. Now remember, this is an organisation that's advocating for 30% increase for its members' salaries.
Okay.
30. They are offering their staff a below inflation increase of, on average, 2%.
Okay. So these are nonprofit staff who work for
The
the
BMA.
association, the BMA. On one hand, they are out advocating for their members as they should, but internally, there seems to be a huge disconnect in what the value of their service is,
Yes.
or simply the role of association staff in general.
And so they argue that the BMA argues. I need to just contextualize this a bit more, right? Why I'm so angry and annoyed about this issue, anyway, is that clerical and administrative staff, as they're classified, they are actually represented by a different trade union, the GMB
Okay.
trade union,
More letters.
and
Okay. Hold on. I'm
yeah,
writing it down. GMB.
and they have threatened and have actually now actioned. They have agreed that they will now have strike action of BMA staff because of this below inflation pay offer of 2%. The union alleges, the GMB alleges that staff have had an erosion of 17% since 2012 in real terms of their salaries.
Yeah.
Now, all of that, if I may just finish, I see your hand up. If I may just finish this particular lesson, because this all needs to be laid out. This all needs to
This
be
is
laid
very
out bare.
interesting.
Right? BMA employs about 14 to 1,500 people. Okay?
Wow. Okay.
A conservative estimate of its salary output is about £67 million a year, give or take a penny.
Okay.
About 60,
Okay.
so it's about $85 million US.
Okay.
Okay, give or take. They have unreserved assets or net assets of about $230 million.
Okay. So that's not that sounds like a lot, but
It is a lot.
what's their annual operating budget?
Well, this is after. This is after their operating costs. This is just their
Correct.
reserves. They are sitting on reserves of £230 million.
Okay.
An inflation increase would cost them about roughly. It would cost them between 1.5 and 2 million in year one. Now, obviously, that increase stays forever, so you've got to consider that
You're
factor
compounding,
that all
yeah.
in, etc., etc. But I think the reality is, nonetheless, the argument that from the BMA that we are facing difficult financial circumstances is somewhat undermined by the £230 million that they're sitting on. Further undermined when they are out there advocating for a 30% increase for doctors, whilst only offering staff a significant below inflation increase of 2%. Now, my own socialist views aside,
Okay.
I think what this hypocrisy, and it is hypocrisy, points to is a much broader issue around, as we introduced the head of this podcast, value, perceived value of what we as membership professionals bring to the table.
Correct.
I've laid out the foundations of our conversation. I hope, listener,
Okay.
you are still here. You are.
Can I ask some
Yeah.
clarifying questions?
Please do. Go for it.
Okay, so my first question is about the GMB, which you said was the labor union representing the staff
Yes.
of the BMA.
Yes.
In the UK, are all association staff represented by a union?
Oh no. In fact,
Okay.
I would argue the vast majority of staff are not represented by trade unions.
Okay. Okay. So that was my first question. So this is a unique instance where of all association staff, these have the best chance at
Yes,
being paid what
represented.
they're worth, protected, trained, invested in, and the like. Okay. So my other question is about reserves. When you have an organization whose members are funded by the government, is there policy
They're not
or
funded by the government.
legislation? Well, you said their 30% pay increase would come from the government.
Doctors' pay is funded by the government, but
Correct, correct.
The BMA as a body corporate is not funded by the government.
So do they have a reserves policy? Is there something stipulated by a higher authority that tells them how much, are they just sitting on $230 million because they can, or is that something that is
Because they
that
can.
is regulated?
Because they can't. No, it's not regulated. It's not
Okay.
regulated. They sit on a. They sit. I mean, I can give you more breakdown of this actually because I've gone into
I
it.
know you did a lot of math. This is serious.
They're sitting on cash of 34 million, which is unrestricted retained earnings. That's straight profit and loss.
Yeah.
They've got investment reserves of 134 million. They've got a ring-fenced reserve of 5 million. They've got a revaluation reserve, which is property, of about, which is very small. It's less than 1 million.
Sure.
And then they've got an industrial action reserve, which does surprise me, which is only about 1 million. I would have thought they would have a larger industrial action
I don't know
reserve
what
than
that
that.
means.
Well, basically, it's a way of helping members out. If I go out on strike and I'm not getting paid by
Oh
my
yeah, you'd think
employer,
they need a lot more than that.
yeah, I need something to be able to buy a basket of shopping. And then they've got cash and liquid assets of about £57 million.
Okay. Okay.
So,
So you have no issue with doctors wanting to be paid what they believe they are worth. This isn't about the doctors.
100%, you are completely correct. I have no
Okay.
issue with doctors being paid with anybody being paid with
Sure.
what
So
they
this
are
isn't about the
worth.
members, what they're fighting for.
Not at all.
At the BMA level, are all you said administrative staff. So does that mean that the senior staff and the chief staff executive is
Yeah.
not part of this same battle? They're being paid either contract or they're negotiating separately.
They'll be negotiating separately. About 75% of staff are represented by the GMB,
Okay.
which suggests to me that the upper senior management are not part of the GMB union. So they're not. Although this offer is being made across 100% of the staff.
Sure, but we can't necessarily say that this is a demonstration of disrespect for or devaluation of association staff if 25%, the upper echelon of staff, the most senior staff, are, let's presume, being paid more, being paid what they think they're worth.
Well, we don't
This
know
is
that.
about
We don't know that.
We don't. I'm just trying to figure out if this is a caste system within the association space or if
Yeah.
this is in total about the valuation and respect for a profession that is most often not the same profession as the one with which it represents.
I think it's the latter. And I think what exemplifies that is that I mean, as with all associations who have this function, the finance committee, which is responsible for determining the organization's operating costs, its operating budgets. The finance committee is comprised of volunteers, chaired by a volunteer member of the BMA's council.
Yes.
The gentleman is a pioneer of emergency medicine.
An expert in his field, a
Amazing,
dozen letters
amazing.
after his name. Yeah.
But is chairing the body within the organization that is determining the value
Yeah.
of the organization's professional staff. Go for it.
So I know that we could give away our power that broadly, but in actuality, isn't it the chief staff executive who presents a draft budget for the finance committee to react to? And in that draft budget is the salary line item and the bonus line item. I mean,
So
they're not, the volunteers aren't pulling these numbers out of the air.
no, they're not. They're not. But I mean, I don't know. Look, let's be honest. I mean, it's no secret what my opinion of medical and clinical trade bodies and associations is. They are difficult to work with. They have a distinct hierarchy that translates directly from the hospital environment
Yeah.
into the boardroom, into the volunteer space, into
Yeah.
the committee space. And I have seen firsthand, both in the UK and in the US, I have seen firsthand how that hierarchy rides roughshod over the reputation, expertise, experience, skills, and
Expertise.
capabilities
Yeah.
of the most senior executive. So I hear your
Yeah.
point. In practice, absolutely, they should be
Yeah.
responding to the narrative that's being presented to them by the qualified senior staff in whatever particular specialism they be it finance,
And
risk,
I'm not
etc.,
advocating for rubber stamps. I'm not advocating for rubber
Definitely not.
stamps.
Definitely not.
I'm asking for a finance committee, for a board and executive committee that respects the draft that is presented to them by the experts, by the professionals in their field that you identify and you state, and asks questions. I think a board and a committee that asks for clarifying detail, that wants to understand,
Definitely.
wants to make sure we can
Absolutely.
afford this, make sure that this is all within either precedent or purpose and policy, I'm okay with committees that ask questions. But what
100%.
you're suggesting is committees and volunteer leaders who circumvent or who supersede because of their own preferences or opinions or
Well,
expertise in their own fields
I think it probably,
that
I
they
think
know
it's,
best, that they
oh, they
know
know
best.
best. They know best, and I think that's actually, I think it's a legacy issue in medical associations. I don't think it's a case of someone walks in the door. Although I have seen this firsthand. Somebody walk in the door as a 1 year president, and I've got to make my mark, and I'll be damned if anyone stops me, and so I'm just going to blow everything up. And I've seen that and benefited as a result of it firsthand. I don't think people largely walk into the environment like the BMA or any medical association and think I'm gonna stir this up. I think they
Yeah,
walk into a legacy environment that arguably expects this type of behaviour. But
yeah.
that doesn't make it right. I think it explains the circumstances. I think it seems to be, and I think it is something that's driven by the hierarchy in the medical environment. And it translates over into these medical and clinical associations. And I now obviously look, disclaimer, BMA, obviously we're not in the room, right? I don't profess to know exactly what's going on in the room. This is my opinion based on my experience of working in and around many other different types of
Yeah.
medical associations. But I can absolutely see the scenario that is happening in that finance committee meeting.
Well, and it's indicative of, emblematic of other and larger issues that we see so
Yes,
often.
yes, yes.
And what there's so many overlapping issues here, whether it's simply the value of association staff through the eyes of volunteers who are experts in another field, whether it's how reserves are used and how you can sit on so much money while asking staff to bear the burden of inflation and economic disruption. It's the also how are we measuring KPIs? How are these staff being
Yeah,
evaluated?
yeah.
Is this an across the board thing, or is there an opportunity for certain departments to do better? I'm working with a client, or recently finished with a client, that the board thought they got to determine the bonus pool for the whole staff. And that
Right.
bonus pool was lower than ever before, despite a historic year of financial success.
And you know what? And you know what it is. You know it. And oh my God! I mean, I put you, and you've heard me push back on it so many times. Well, it's our money. It's members' money, and we're members. Therefore, it's our money. Oh my God. No, it is not. You are not the custodians of members' money. Members gave that money to the organization. It is the organization's assets, and it is your responsibility to manage those assets, not members' money. But it is that view of the world that skews people's decision making. And actually, as you were listing there those issues, I'm thinking, yeah, and actually, apart from anything else, right? Whether you think BMA staff are entitled to more than 2% or not. You may be sitting, I mean, fair play. The members of that finance committee may be sitting there thinking, well, they should also get 30%, but we're not going to do that. Right? We don't know what they're thinking.
We don't know.
But,
We don't know.
but, where on earth is the business acumen? I mean, my God, if nothing else, the optics around this are incredibly poor. Who is
Yeah.
advising these
Well,
people
you
and
mentioned
saying,
it's the hypocrisy. It's the
you know,
hypocrisy of this, that we want 30%, and yet our
well,
staff,
we want 30%, but our staff are going to get two and they're going to like it, whether they, and we're going to cite, quite frankly, ridiculous notions of financial constraints while sitting on £235 million. I mean, that in itself is ridiculous. We're also going to presume, whilst being preeminent specialists in our fields, that somehow we know best how to run this organization, which is, I think,
yeah,
which is the bigger issue here, which is one of the bigger issues here.
yeah.
I mean, I mean, talk about shoot yourself in the foot. I mean, it's incredible the mistake they've done. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's just, I am dumbfounded by how they have let this happen.
So I mean, maybe the big obvious question here then is, will BMA staff, those 75% of the BMA staff, go on strike? In your research, have you found any
They vote,
updates on their
yeah,
status?
yeah. They voted to. They voted to go out on strike. So
Oh, wow. Okay.
yeah,
So through the GMB, their
yeah,
union, the
Yeah.
BMA staff, the association nonprofit staff representing doctors, will be going on strike.
Yeah.
Good, good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm glad they have the same tools afforded to them. I
Yes.
think here in the United States and in most environments, association staff are not unionized. And I'm not necessarily advocating for unionization across the board, but I know so many CEOs who don't even have contracts.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. So my question is, because my instincts are screaming about this, which is this just an example of volunteers failing leaders in their industry,
Yeah.
volunteering to lead in our industry, and simply failing to grasp what we bring to the table in terms of our skills and expertise. Now, and I have to say that sprung up because I'm sitting there thinking, and you saw I wrote an article the other day about, in the trade association context, chief executive joking with me, you know, oh,
Oh,
before I was a chief exec and I had a real job. And, is this a case of, well, yeah, but doctors save lives, so clearly that's a skilled job that deserves real compensation. But you guys, well, you just organise meetings for us, don't you? You just send emails and file paper and, is it just this complete lack of understanding that they quite frankly can't be bothered to find out what we do for a living and then just make a presumption and utterly fail to value it?
it's a demonstration of something we've known for a very long time. That exactly what you described, that disrespect, that lack of appreciation exists. We know that to be true.
Yeah,
My question in this scenario related to salary,
yeah.
related to valuation of these individuals, these 1,500 individuals' contributions
Mm,
to the success of this other profession.
mm,
I wonder, is it a resentful action? Is it a punitive action because they're not
mm.
getting what they want?
So you're not going to get what you want. It just feels
What
I
was inflation? What should the number have been?
well
Two and a
the
half or five? I mean, what are we really talking about?
well. I mean, this is it. I mean, so they are one. Their call for 30% is based on the retail price index, and the retail price
Back to
index.
2008.
Yeah, yeah. And the retail price index in the UK for November 25 was 3.8%.
Okay. So that's what we're really, and
And,
I'm not
and
saying
this
that
is
a
the thing.
minimum inflationary index is what you should be using for your salary considerations. Some of this comes down to financial ability. I know organizations that are not having great years, that aren't able to give their
Yeah,
staff
yeah,
any
yeah.
raises.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
let's not presume that there's an across the board obligation to provide pay increases. That's
Agreed.
not a luxury that everyone has.
Not at all. Not at all. And that's you're spot on. You're spot on. That is not what this is about. This is not me saying, "Come on, put your hand in your wallet and fork out the extra cash." It is for me. It is all screaming about perceived value and a lack of, or seemingly a seeming lack of willingness to understand what BMA staff do for a living. Because
Yeah.
if you did, because and the difference we're talking about here, I think for a lot of people, it's the principle, it's the insult of, well, look, it's 2%. And actually, if you actually get into it, the difference in real terms is about 1.9% versus
Yeah.
3.8%. So in
Yeah.
cash terms, you're probably talking about a difference of about £2.5 million a year. Okay, that's not to be sniffed at. Absolutely, and you've got to take that longer
Across
term.
1,500 individuals, which is,
Yeah. So I think for a lot of people, and for me as well, I think it's the insult. It's the insult
yeah.
that is attached to it. It's like, we're not asking for 30%. We're asking for inflation. You're only talking
Right.
less than 2% difference. Well, you're out there banging the drum for 30 on behalf of members. You haven't even been bothered to try and understand what it is that we do that we think we're worth 3.8%.
I have more questions.
Yeah.
I think there is absolutely this example here. This is symptomatic of the larger challenge that you've just described. I also think there's another piece of the puzzle,
Yeah.
and I think that's about authority. Whose authority is it to determine staff increases, to evaluate staff accomplishment, to determine the usage of overage or bonus or whatever it may be? Who is the chief? I don't mention names, but the chief staff executive of the BMA, are they a former physician or are they an association person?
Ooh, that is a really, really good question. I can't believe I've got 20 pages of research in front of me, and you asked me that.
You mean you haven't been trolling this individual?
I'm going out for dinner with him tonight.
Oh, stop it. Look at you assume it's a man. Look at you assume it's a man.
I didn't. I said them. I'm going out for dinner with them tonight.
I said him.
I didn't. Oh, right. Oh, right. I'm going out on strike in a minute. I'm going out on strike in a minute. You listen back to the recording. All right.
Just
I
go
just
on.
I just need to check this person because as
All
did
of
you.
this could be avoided if the chief staff executive understood their role, their authority, and had built the trust and relationship necessary with their board, understood their governance, the ownership and jurisdiction that they had within their governance structure
Yeah.
to determine their numbers. This
They
is just a
are.
budget line item. This is just a budget line
Yeah.
item.
Well, it is a
I
budget
know
line
it's
item
about
that they've now
people. I
turned into.
recognize that it's
Yes,
about
yes,
people.
yes, yes. No, you're right. You're right. But they've now turned it into something so much bigger
Correct. And
because
you're right.
of
It
their.
is an
Yeah.
insult given the amount that they're sitting on. And I believe that just because reserves are a whole different story. Reserves are a double-edged sword, very much so. And different members and different volunteer leaders have very different opinions about reserves, and reserves can become a sticky situation. But in this context, I believe that as much as the disrespect and lack of appreciation for the expertise of association management professionals is also the muddy situation here, the dilution of the authority to determine this budget line item, to
Yes.
evaluate staff progress, to manage staff. As far as I mean, we're both governance experts here. This boards have one staff person. The
Yes.
board of directors has one staff person. Where is that chief staff executive in this fight for their team?
And that
In
person.
the,
Yep.
yeah.
And that person is membership and non-profit, albeit
Okay.
within a
So they're not a
albeit
doctor.
albeit within a medical context.
Yeah.
But their entire leadership team uh,
Is
is
association.
is health is administrative health sector or
Okay.
membership or none of them are qualified physicians who are out there practicing or have
Okay.
been practicing. So yeah.
So we're talking about the challenge that you've pointed out and that we see so often in some of these very specialized professional societies, where the association staff member, irrespective of the letters after their name and the years of expertise and service in associations, are often beating their heads up against a wall against individuals who think they know best.
And individuals, and my eyes popped out when I saw this because I thought, oh God, that's not a good thing to boast. Individuals who are boasting that they have 33 years being on the BMA's volunteer council and committees.
What kind of governance allows that?
Exactly. Exactly.
Again, none
Poor
of the if
governance.
people want governance, people want clean policies, but no one follows them. They
But
don't
it's
live the policies.
no,
None of
well,
this should be happening if,
but
sorry, go ahead.
well, no, sorry, I was just going to say, but that's the issue in the medical membership world. The hierarchy in the hospital environment comes in. They are all bemoaning the fact we don't have enough junior doctors, we don't have enough early career doctors, we don't have enough people volunteering to be on the board. Why not? And they say, I've listened to them, and they say, oh well, they're off having families, they're off developing their careers, they're off, just investing in themselves. And it's like, no, it's not that. It's you've turned it into an old boys club that they think is completely inaccessible. And 33 years on a board tells me that this is inaccessible for me as an early career professional. I mean, come on.
Well, now
Come on.
I'm going to add this to the book. I'm going to add this to the Andrew Chamberlain book of the page of all the things that really get you going, the red flag issues, the triggers. This is
it gets me going because I don't doubt for a second that I don't doubt for a second that the majority of volunteers in the BMA recognize and respect the value that the staff are bringing to the table. They absolutely can't talk one-on-one with any of them. And I guarantee they will say, oh my God, we couldn't do this without that person.
So you're saying this is a finance committee board issue?
No, I think this is a cultural issue. I think this is a cultural issue about groupthink and hierarchy and legacy issues in medical associations that and in this scenario, I've seen this play out. You'll have seen this play out in the education portfolio, for example. I've seen this play out. Nothing to do with finances. This is maybe the education piece. I've seen it play out elsewhere in the publishing piece, for example. In this scenario, it's playing out in the financial context. And unfortunately, though, in this scenario, it's having not just a very public impact on the BMA, but really tangible impacts on the 1,500 people who are doing all they can for the for the BMA's members. And I just think it's a sad indictment of the volunteer staff dynamic.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I would think, given that it's their job, can we get a representative from the GMB to come speak to us and let us know how the strike is going and what progress is being made and what the argument against at least an inflationary increase has been?
Well, I'll see what we can do. I mean,
that's their job as the spokespeople of these employees. Maybe even put out an invite to the chief staff executive of the BMA. I mean, if we're going to do this, let's get in it.
Well, we are doing it. We're committed now, and we're committed ourselves to this one now. I think I just
you don't have to go to the doctor anytime soon, do you?
Yeah, show my GMB card. Oh, out. We're not talking to you.
They're like, oh wait, are you with Association Transformation? Oh, I'm sorry. You'll need to go back to the waiting room.
I used to listen to that all the time, and now I don't. No, I tell my patients.
It's been banned. It's been banned in our hospital.
I just think, when we think about the lessons learned, and listeners who are not working in the medical context, I think there are, or if you are in the medical context, I think the lessons here are abundant and need to be learned. Otherwise, I don't want to continue seeing these stories. And actually, it's really interesting. We won't talk about them today, but I've seen 3 or 4 stories in the last 2 or 3 months that have in national newspapers about volunteer. I would say you can't say bad behaviour, ill judgment, ill-conceived decision making at volunteer level that is having a very significant detrimental effect to an association's credibility and its
legal consequences. Are we talking legal consequences?
No, I think reputational consequences that challenge the credibility of the association and therefore undermine members' value and perceived value of the organization. And then we're going to get into the world of systems thinking. That's another podcast.
Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes. All right. So my request to you is to keep us informed on these the updates and details of this story.
Yep.
Let's go ahead and put out a request to BMA staff and to GMB representatives to give us an update on on the strike, the staff's salary increase status. I also do at some point want to have a conversation about authority for staff evaluation, annual
Yes, I think that's a good
reviews,
conversation.
all
Yeah.
all of
Mm.
that, and maybe even a separate conversation around reserves.
Can I?
We go ahead.
I'm jumping the gun. I'll let you finish. I apologize. I'm sorry. Go
No,
on.
before you forget, go.
I just have to make this one more point, and it's in a UK context. I mean, this is a UK membership organisation. There are 1,500 membership professionals involved in this issue. 1,500 is not a small number of people. We talk boldly about community and leadership and advocacy and representing and supporting this profession's
Yeah.
interests. Not one, not one of the membership networks in the UK has done anything to speak of this issue at all. And I
Yeah.
personally think that that is also a damning indictment of where the sector is at as a so-called community in the UK context. That
Yeah.
1,500 individuals, membership professionals, are infected by this, and it is me and you who are having the conversation about it.
Right. And they're represented by a union. I mean,
Yeah, and I just think listeners in the UK reflect on that one as well. Reflect on that. I certainly am. I certainly am reflecting on it. Where is this? Where is this concept of community and support? Where's this narrative when when it's association transformation talking about this and that's it?
well, my suspicion is that the 25% who are not members of GMB are getting paid just fine and
Probably.
therefore not pounding the drum, and trying to protect the reputation of their organization by just letting this stay quite under the radar. So I thank you for bringing this to our attention. I appreciate the association transformation spotlight being shined strategically and intentionally on something that does scream so many issues,
Mm.
and sadly one that is becoming more and more frequent. It will give us some good topics individually on these layered issues to dig into throughout the rest of the year. So, sir, I appreciate your research, your reporting, and your passion on this topic, and we'll hopefully hear more soon. Until then, put your members, your mission, and your staff first.